price between 20 and 40 bucks. Eventually, Payless let them in on the joke, refunded their money, and even let them keep their shoes. This is what we've come to.
Yes, this is
society.
Very revealing.
That's our time for now. Thanks for watching. News 3 at 5 starts right now. Right now at 5, a busy Dane County road was shut down for 10 hours yesterday. We'll tell you why it took so long. And the Milton School District considering a referendum on the spring ballot for the 3rd time. We'll tell you what it will include.
This is News 3 at 5.
Thanks for staying with News 3. New information tonight as UW Health says one patient who tested positive for Legionnaire's disease has died.
UW Health spokeswoman Lisa Brunette says the patient was seriously ill and was in the hospital for multiple health problems, and the death was not unexpected. Brunette also says there are now 5 people who have tested positive for the disease. A couple weeks ago, the hospital changed the pressure system in the water pipes, and they say this may have allowed bacteria that causes Legionnaire's disease to infect patients through hot water, likely from a shower. Officials say 2 of the patients in the hospital are in good condition. The new patient diagnosed has begun treatment, and another patient was released. St. Mary's Hospital is also confirming tonight that it has treated 1 patient for Legionella bacteria, but the hospital did not contract the bacteria in a healthcare setting.
After Verona Road was shut down for nearly 10 hours yesterday, left many people with questions.
We have the answers that many of you have been asking us about. Jamie Perez spoke with the project manager who was handling that backup yesterday, and she joins us now in the newsroom with the answers. Jamie?
Right, so while 10 hours might seem like a long time to all of the drivers that it inconvenienced, I found out today that 10 hours was rather quick for what the DOT engineers were tasked with.
For any of you watching that were stuck in this mess yesterday,
we had 3 out of the 4 lanes of Verona Road blocked.
After a contractor truck, kind of like this one, was delivering gravel to a place on the new roads here, part of that truck hit the wires that connect these poles.
And then that snapped the poles, the one wood pole that's far over there, and then it's tough to see from here, but there's actually just like a pole that's our height.
As you might have guessed, that brought everything to a stop, which led us to this. While this was happening, the DOT ordered new equipment from Merkel Electric that's based 3 hours away in Medford. Take into account travel time and installation time on top of
the snow on the ground and the frost in the ground as well.
It took nearly 10 hours to get these roads back open again, something the DOT says normally takes a week.
The fact that it was only, almost 10 hours, I mean, to everybody on the road, that seems like a long time, but for people that work in a DOT that know how long this actually takes, 10 hours is rather quick.
Right, exactly, and certainly that's a good comparison to make, that it takes a long time. Certainly construction is an inconvenience for many people, but we certainly appreciate their patience.
The roads are back open now, clear as day, and traffic seems back to normal.
Now, while this is not something that happens too often and there weren't any injuries reported this time, the DOT reminds people to keep your heads up and phones down. Always stay alert for when things like this may happen unexpectedly.
Good advice. Jamie Perez in the newsroom. Thanks, Jamie.
All right, after the snow overnight, let's get a look at your first alert weather now. Meteorologist Dana Fulton of the Weather Center as we start to turn our attention to the weekend, Dana.
We're expecting quite an active weekend. Of course, we did see some snow come through last night, depending on where you may be. That's depending on how much snow you actually saw. Looking right now at our Queen Bee radio sky cam in Platteville. Of course, sunset was just about 35 minutes ago. So we have a dark ground, but you can kind of see the grass in some spots. The little snow that did fall there now mostly melted and gone away. Some areas, though, still quite white from the snowfall overnight. Looking at our Doppler track, we're not really expecting the same event for us this evening. There's the chance for some light freezing drizzle to move through. As you can see now, it's down towards Iowa and Illinois, but not ruling out the chance for it to drift a little further north. It may drizzle a little bit up in our direction. 30 currently in Madison and in Janesville, about 32 in Mineral Point and in Lone Rock. That is a few degrees warmer than this time yesterday. Our little warming trend will continue into the weekend for us. Our breeze kind of shifting, so it's a little more easterly flow, but fairly calm. It'll stay light and variable overnight and into tomorrow. Temps will be in the mid-20s overnight. Tomorrow we will get ever closer to 40. Finally expecting a day a little closer to average in the upper 30s throughout the afternoon. A little sun in the forecast, which will be nice. as we do have a rocky weekend all the way. We'll take a closer look at what's ahead for the weekend in just a few minutes.
All right, Dana, thank you. The family of a Wisconsin woman who died at a resort in Mexico has filed a wrongful death lawsuit.
20-year-old Abby Connor of Pewaukee died on winter break with her family last year. Our Keely Arthur is here to share why the family is suing. Keely.
It's such a sad and complicated story. 2 hours into her trip, Abby Connor was found face down in a pool. Her death was ruled accidental, but a new civil suit alleges there are people at fault. Abby Connor's family is suing the Iberostar Resort in Playa del Carmen and the U.S.-based company Visit Us, which handles its bookings. The civil complaint alleges the hotel and Visit Us knew that alcoholic beverages served at the resort were tainted and unfit for human consumption. Abby and her brother Austin took shots of tequila at a pool bar. Both blacked out. Austin recovered, but Abby was brain dead. A year after the tragedy, we caught up with Ed Manny, the president of a local travel company. He says he stayed at the resort with fellow travel agents about a year ago, too.
And I didn't hear anything from any of my fellow travel agents from around the country about anything happening to them or getting sick or something being wrong.
Mexican authorities have long acknowledged a problem with illicit alcohol, meaning it was produced in unregulated conditions. But the government denies any widespread issues with it being tainted. A 2017 report by government officials and representatives found as much as 36% of the alcohol consumed in the country is illicit. Now, Iberostar has repeatedly denied any of its alcohol has been tainted and said its supply chains are secure. The Connor family lawyer says the idea that Abby and Austin Connor were simply drunk is impossible, and a spokeswoman for Iberostar did not want to comment.
All right, Keely Arthur reporting that. Keely, thank you. Madison police are investigating after a home was struck by a bullet on the city's north side. Police say they responded to multiple reports of shots being fired near the 800 block of Troy Drive near Warner Park. This was last night. A nearby home was hit by one of the shots fired. A 36-year-old woman inside at the time of the incident. No injuries were reported. Police ask anyone with information regarding that incident, call the Madison Police Department.
A concessions trailer was stolen from the parking lot of Wisconsin Heights High School in Mazomanie on Friday. Surveillance video shows the trailer was removed by an older, dark-colored SUV. The trailer is white with Pepsi in small lettering and the Pepsi logo on both sides. Anyone with information about the trailer's location or the suspect vehicle can report it directly to the Dane County Sheriff's Office.
Madison Police Chief Mike Koval commented in a blog post yesterday on morale among officers after 4 officers resigned in recent months. According to Chief Koval, the national narrative surrounding policing is having an effect on officers. He says that community members are polarized about supporting police efforts and that the stress combined with daily duties is causing some officers to recognize a new challenge in their careers.
That this sort of toxicity towards the police is more of the new normal. It's a movement. It's not a moment anymore in time. And I think that that weighs very heavily on the psyche of an officer who has a very difficult job to do on a day in and day out basis.
And Chief Koval says the department is able to fill the vacancies from these resignations, but what concerns him is the loss of seasoned, experienced officers.
The Milton School District is considering a third try at a facilities referendum.
The school board is directing district officials to draft a plan just shy of $60 million. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter joins us from our bureau at the Janesville Gazette with some of the details in this plan. Adam?
Well, Eric and Susan, a facilities referendum in Milton is something that's been on the eyes of the district for a few years now, and district administrators are hopeful that this plan could be the one that goes through. Now, these facilities upgrades are seen especially at Milton High School, where issues with space have led to closets being converted to classroom and have left some teachers without a room of their own. In addition, facilities like the gym and swimming pool are also a concern at the school. Those opposed to the referendum in the past have been so because of tax increases that would come along with it. However, the district superintendent says he's hopeful this time could be different.
What is different this time around is that the community and the staff, the board, I believe, has really wrapped around together the table and have embraced the conversation in a different way this time around.
Now, the referendum would also include improvements at the 4 elementary schools and the middle school. And Dr. Scheiger says we could be looking at a hard copy of this referendum come January. And coming up at 6, we'll hear from students at Milton High School how they feel about the referendum. And 2 that actually sit on the school board will also be heard from coming up later at 6.
All right, we'll see if the third time's a charm in Milton. Adam Duxter in Rock County. Adam, thank you. Earlier today, Speaker of the House Paul Ryan was on the House floor thanking the people of Wisconsin's 1st District as he winds down his time in Congress. He says his 2 biggest regrets as he prepares to leave office are not successfully dealing with immigration and the national debt.
Like we just did, it brings me back to the time. I am immensely grateful to the people of southern Wisconsin for their trust and their confidence. I've always had this thing about calling the people I represent not my constituents, but my employers. It's the way I've always thought this, and I think it's important that members understand that we work for the people and not the other way around, that we are in this to make a difference for them.
Speaker Ryan announced in April he would not seek re-election and would retire in January. Republican Brian Stile will take Speaker Ryan's first congressional seat.
Another community meeting will be held in Baraboo tonight to talk about the controversial photo showing a group of high schoolers appearing to make a Nazi salute. It is the latest in a series of meetings to brainstorm what the community wants to accomplish in the wake of the picture that brought international attention to the school and the city, and trying to use this incident as a teachable moment. The district says it is not in a position to punish the students because they're protected by the First Amendment. Tonight's community meeting will be held at 6 o'clock at the Baraboo City Administration Building. School board members will also be in attendance.
Many people in the homeless community rely on the Beacon shelter as their permanent residence during the year. But during the winter months, volunteers say they need more help. Leaders at the Beacon say they serve on average 225 people a day. But when this colder weather sets in, that number goes up. Last winter, a count of the homeless population in Dane County found more than 80 people sleeping outside on any given night. That's nearly 20% of the local homeless community, with many people not having a permanent home. They say it's important to give homeless men and women as much gear as possible to stay warm.
One of the things we try to do is get our hands on coats and scarves and gloves and boots. So throughout the winter, we'll be handing those out so that we can arm our guests with as much protection as we can give them.
Fonder says one issue that Beacon runs into is the lack of available storage space. He says because of that, they have to quickly give out donated supplies as they receive them. But in these cold winter months, he says those donations could potentially be life-changing and life-saving for members of the homeless community.
The ferry that moves vehicles across the Wisconsin River between Sauk and Columbia counties is set to close this week for the winter. The Merrimack Ferry will close at 6 p.m. on Friday because of ice conditions on the Wisconsin River. Ferry operations will resume when conditions allow in 2019.
More to come on News Street 5. Up next, a New Jersey man accused of killing his brother, sister-in-law, niece and nephew. What prosecutors believe to be the motive.
And President Trump bashes his former lawyer Michael Cohen after he makes a surprise appearance in court. What new charges Cohen is facing from the special counsel.
And on Wall Street, stocks come back down to earth. The Dow off more than 27.5. NASDAQ down 18.5. The S&P dropped a half dozen. We'll be right back. A New Jersey man is charged with killing his brother, his sister-in-law, and their 2 young children.
51-year-old Paul Canero was charged with 4 counts of murder today. Prosecutors say he repeatedly shot his brother, fatally stabbed his brother's wife and 2 young children, and then set their mansion on fire in a quadruple homicide. Prosecutors say Canero is also accused of setting his own home on fire.
That fire was effectively a ruse designed to make it appear as if the overall Canero family was somehow targeted. We believe that the defendant's motive was financial in nature, stemming from his and the victim's joint business ventures.
Paul Canero has a court appearance on Friday. He faces life in prison if convicted.
There are growing calls for Alabama state authorities to release videos of a deadly police-involved shooting of a black man inside a shopping mall. Police in the Birmingham suburb of Hoover were called to investigate a fight and shooting at the mall Thanksgiving night. Witnesses say a responding officer shot and killed 21-year-old E.J. Bradford, believing he had opened fire, injuring 2 people. Police later admitted that Bradford had a legal concealed weapons permit and was not the shooter.
Investigations take time, and we're doing everything we can to cooperate with the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency in finding out the truth of what happened.
Now, police say the real shooter is 20-year-old Aaron Martez Daquan Brown. He was arrested outside Atlanta this morning and charged with attempted murder.
President Trump's former personal lawyer has admitted to lying about his contacts with Russians. CBS News has learned Michael Cohen pleaded guilty, admitting that he lied to Congress about the extent of a potential Trump Tower in Moscow. Cohen told Congress negotiations over the deal, the real estate project, ended in 2016, when in fact they lasted into 2017 when Donald Trump became president. Cohen also admits he had much more contact with President Trump than he previously admitted to.
This is one more example of one of the president's closest allies lying about their ties to Russia and Russians.
He's got himself a big prison sentence, and he's trying to get a much lesser prison sentence by making up a story.
Cohen's guilty plea is part of a deal with special counsel Robert Mueller. He will be sentenced on December 12th. Meanwhile, President Trump is at the G20 summit in Argentina with world leaders. He's scheduled to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping amid the prospect of a full-blown trade war. The U.S. levied new tariffs on China this year in response to what it calls unfair trade practices, and additional tariffs could be coming. President Trump was also scheduled to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin, but President Trump canceled that meeting.
Well, we saw that snow. Many of you woke up to an inch or so of snow in Madison. Dana Fulton looks ahead in our weekend forecast as well. Dana?
The weekend does look a little messy for us right now, guys. Outside, it currently doesn't feel too cold for us, as we're not talking about any sort of wind chill overnight. But yes, a lot of snowfall for us coming through last night. It's still lingering for us out here on the patio, as you can see behind me. But some areas, we were looking down towards Platteville, didn't have anything still lingering, really. Most of it's melted off. Now, Madison, we did pick up an inch of snow last night. Towards Viroqua, though, just over half of an inch. Same goes for Friendship. So it wasn't a major event sliding on through. But we did, of course, pick up some snow. It was a nice little surprise to wake up to this morning. Hopefully you had a smooth commute into work. Overall, tonight won't be as cold. And again, we're not factoring in a wind chill. This breeze is going to stay fairly light for us, so it won't be as chilly tomorrow morning. Tomorrow we will get a little bit of sunshine in the afternoon. And then as we get into the weekend, our next system is going to move into the area, and that system is going to bring the threat of rain and freezing drizzle and snow, the whole shebang in the weekend forecast. So it could be messy. We'll get to that future watch in just a minute. Looking at your Doppler track right now, it's fairly mellow outside. There is a little freezing drizzle in parts of Iowa and Illinois as it moves north. It may be impacting parts of southern Wisconsin for us overnight. So we do have the slight chance for some freezing rain this evening, maybe even a few flurries, but nothing that's going to accumulate for us. We stay mostly cloudy overnight. Temperatures fall into the mid-20s as we head into Friday morning. Friday morning will start off with a little more cloud coverage than what we'll see in the afternoon. By the afternoon, breaks up a little bit. We get a little more sun in the forecast, partly cloudy by later on in the day. And then overnight, those clouds build back in as our next weather system shifts north. That system dragging through the Midwest, pushing rain into our area first, but that rain and snow line, as you can see, really divides right through southern and central Wisconsin. So it's going to be a similar situation that we dealt with a little bit ago just this past weekend. where one side of the line could be dealing with rain, the other side could be seeing snowfall. And then that line is expected to shift north during the day as that low moves east a little more. We're getting a little more rainfall, but then of course as we get overnight and our temperatures fall, that rain's going to transition right back into some freezing drizzle and snowfall. So this is what one of our models, our GFS model, is bringing in for the weekend, starting off with that rainfall moving throughout the afternoon on Saturday. But notice up towards La Crosse and Wisconsin Rapids, we will be seeing that freezing drizzle throughout the area. Overnight, as temperatures fall, that snow line starts to drop into southern Wisconsin, and throughout the morning on Sunday, it looks like we're going to be dealing with that snow. So it will be messy for both Saturday and Sunday morning. Because of this, we have added 2 alert days to the forecast. If you have any outdoor plans for either days, or if you're trying to do a lot of traveling this weekend, you definitely want to give yourself a little extra time. Downtown right now, things are fairly mellow. Today we hit a high of 32 degrees, finally a little closer to average in the 30s. Overnight we'll be in the mid-20s, so barely dropping a few degrees from where we are at right now. In the upper 30s for tomorrow. Variably cloudy and not nearly as cold. Almost an average day for us. Those alert days in the forecast for this weekend are primarily due to travel concerns both Saturday and Sunday morning, as that potential for some freezing drizzle. Again, freezing rain is not good for our roads. Could be impacting both mornings for us. Bouncing over to traffic to see what's going along the roads right now. Our first alert traffic update. This is 94 right now, looking at 142. Overall, things look okay. The Beltline a little slow. I do want to bounce north a little bit. Just north of Lake Wisconsin, we do have a fire on 39 and 90 north, right at the exit to County Roads C and S. And that has the north lanes blocked. The right lane for the northbound side is blocked right now. Down near downtown, the Isthmus has a little bit of a delay for traffic, but no major accidents on the Beltline. We're seeing some delays as well in Viroqua. Some mild congestion. Main Street has a few yellow spots, but overall things seem to be rolling along okay. From Janesville to the Beltline, about 28 minutes, 18 minutes from downtown to Sun Prairie, and then 19 from Middleton to Sauk City. So a little slower than usual, but not too bad outside. Overall, you should have a fairly calm evening. Enjoy the sun tomorrow before we get into those rocky days for the weekend.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. All right, thank you, Dana.
Ahead on News 3 at 5, a new report says the life expectancy in the U.S. declined from 2016 to 2017. We'll tell you why after a short break. Life expectancy in the U.S. declined between 2016 and 2017.
According to a new report, the increase in 2 preventable causes is to blame. Meredith Wood explains.
A stark report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Increases in drug overdose deaths and suicides caused life expectancy rates to drop in the U.S. in 2017. According to the CDC's National Center for Health Statistics, overdose deaths reached a new high in 2017, topping 70,000, almost quadrupling the rate from 1999. Also in 2017, the suicide rate increased 3.7% over the year before. This dropped the average life expectancy age from 78.7 in 2016 to 78.6 for those born in the U.S. last year. Even with these increases, the CDC says the top 10 leading causes of death last year remain unchanged. They are heart disease, cancer, unintentional injuries, chronic lower respiratory diseases, stroke, Alzheimer's, diabetes, the flu and pneumonia, kidney disease, and suicide. They account for almost 3/4 of all deaths across the country. Still, the CDC director says the increased number of those dying from preventable conditions should be a, quote, wake-up call for the whole country. For today's Health Minute, I'm Meredith Wood.
One more check of your forecast in just a moment. Stay with us.
Here's a look at some of the stories we are working on for tonight. Michael Cohen's guilty plea. Now that he says he lied to Congress, we'll break down what it means for the Trump administration and Robert Mueller's investigation. The new form of birth control that's being tested on men. and a Christmas light fight between one family and the town they live in. That is on tonight's CBS Evening News.
No problems tonight, but we're watching the weekend.
Correct, yes. So tonight looks fairly calm. A slight chance for some drizzle. Tomorrow we'll actually get a little sun in the forecast, but late in the night and early Saturday morning, our mix starts up, and we have alert days because of that mixed chance early Saturday and Sunday morning.
All right, Dana, thanks. We'll see you in 30 minutes for News 3 at 6. The CBS Evening News is next.